What's up everyone? So today I'm installing fan systems and we're going to go over the installation process, the price point, and whether or not you should do it yourself. So let's get into this video and see what it's all about. So here's the current fan that's in the living room, and in order to take this one off, all you need to do is drop down the bezel. There's sometimes a screw around here. This one has a rubber grommet, so you could slide this down and detach this whole fan from a mounting bracket up there. I'll show you how to do that so we can install the new one. Before installing your new fan, what you want to do first is assemble the new fan before you take down the old one, because you don't want the exposed wires of your current fixture to be hanging. Lay out all your parts so that way you have them accounted for in an area, so that way they don't get damaged. I have it laying on the couch, but of course you could lay it on the floor. The reason why I haven't laid it on the floor is because this is where I'm going to assemble the fan, and I need floor space for the fan size. Here's one of the fans that I pre-built for the living room. This one here in particular is for the living room, and it's a 62-inch fan. So from there to there is supposed to be 62 inches. And the reason why it's 62 inches for the living room is because I want more airflow. It's a larger room. But you could go and get a 52-inch for a living room as well, and it's supposed to do similar square footage. I like the longer blades just because they're going to move more air, and since there's going to be a lot more people in the living room, you want that airflow to wick away any heat or suck away any heat if you decide to run it in reverse. So this fan here that goes in the living room is going to match the fan that's going in the kitchen, just because the two rooms interact with one another. So from there to here, and this one here looks exactly like the one that's going in the kitchen. It's not the same exact model, but it's close enough with the gray and the way these accents are. It looks similar, except it's going to be a 52-inch. So here we got the comparison in size. 52-inch blade, 62-inch blade. As you can see, it's quite a difference. The color contrast looks close, if not the same. And then this piece here that mounts the blade looks similar to this one, even though it's a different model. They're pretty close in similarity, and both rooms you won't really see the difference, so don't worry about the details. Just as long as you get a fan that looks similar. If you decide both rooms you want a similar fan but a smaller or larger size, if for whatever reason you can't fit two of the same sizes in there, or if you want to increase your size in one room and not the other. What you need to do is first choose the color that you want to face down. I want the gray to face down, so what we're going to end up doing is using this and mount it just like this. So you turn it upside down so the color that you don't want is facing you. Okay, now what you need to do is add a washer and then attach your screw, and then screw these in with the Phillips or a flat blade. They do both. As you can see, there's a flat blade option, and then the Phillips is of course integrated into that. These right here are vibration dampeners, just so that way when you tighten it, you don't split the blade as you tighten the screw, and it also keeps these from backing out, so it acts as a locking washer as well. This is what it should look like once they're all screwed in and fastened. The next thing you want to do is use your Phillips or flat blade and remove these orange tabs here, making sure they're in line with this cutaway, so that way you can put a screwdriver in there. So unscrew those, and then you can mount your blades, which are going to be facing this way, like this. So this end is going to be facing down, so is the color that you chose. So after removing all the orange little couplers to keep the motor in line so nothing bends, we're actually left over with two washers and an extra screw for the fan blade, and then a screw that mounts the actual metal blade part of the fan blade to the motor. So that extra screw is for one of these in case you lose one, I guess. And then the rest of these pieces are for the actual blade itself, which they gave us extra. I'm assuming in case you lose one, or in case something cracks or breaks or something. As far as the screws are concerned, you could strip them out. But that's what it should look like at this point in time. And your layout. Remember, you could alter this like that to get access to the screws. And then now what you need to do is remove these 3 screws and attach your light fixture to it. So in order for us to match the one with the living room, the 52-inch with the 62-inch, the only option they had was the one with the remote. It doesn't have any pull strings, so it's all wireless. And then you got your fan unit here. After I took off the screws that go around here, the 3, what you basically do is take the plug that's in here, right here. Make sure you align it correctly. This little tab here on this side with this little finger right here. Clip those together. Make sure you pack the wireless controller in here, little module. Align it up with wherever you need it to align, and then put in your screws right here all the way around. There should be 3, and then that assembles this whole thing. So what you need to do is take off these 2 pieces here, okay, and then come in here and screw this all the way down till it touches. And as you can see, it's pretty much flush with this rubber here. Then you need to take the glass bowl, and this is all for fitment purposes. Take the glass bowl, set it on, set your little cap on like that, and then screw this all the way down like that. And make sure this bowl doesn't move. So when you screw that down, make sure this doesn't have a lot of play in it. It'll have some play, but not a lot. If for whatever reason this is all the way tightened and it sounds like this, what you need to do is take this back off like this, and then adjust this nut up a little bit, and then that will basically act as your spacer between this and the fan to allow it to pinch shut and allow you to fully tighten it, so that way your glass doesn't wobble. This is kind of a different design than some of the other fans. Some of the other fans have another cup that adjusts here, so this would be on top of this nut and you could adjust it up and down. But this fan in particular already has it kind of built into the proper height, and you don't need to do anything except screw that all the way down, because you have this rubber piece that sits flush, and then there's enough travel here that it takes up the gap to adhere this perfectly onto that piece. The one thing I failed to mention was this washer needs to be on top of this nut here, because this is going to take up vibration on the glass as well as this. And then you could adjust this nut down here to wherever it needs to be relative to the thickness of this and the glass. Next, what you need to do is loosen up these screws so that way they're flush with the inside of this. So this screw and this screw. And then you come over here and you need to loosen up this screw, take this screw off, this screw take off, and loosen up this screw. So these 2 screws came out of this piece here. These 2 we leave in just because they're slotted. This is your mounting bracket. So basically you're going to screw this into your box up there. So you're going to screw this up into your ceiling, okay? And then you want to take off this little clasp here. So take off that little clasp. Okay, drop out this little pin, and then you're gonna fish this through here like this, and then you're gonna fish this up through here. Keep in mind that this is a grommet. You don't want it to grip and pull out, so you want to slide it up easily into here. Your ground wire, which is this wire here, is kind of tucked up into this tube, so you want to pull it out because you want to attach this ground wire, and the ground wire coming from your ceiling together, so that way it grounds this whole fan perfectly. So now we need to fish the wires, those wires through here all the way through, and pull them through, and then set it in like that. This kitchen fan only has 2 wires that needs to be pulled through. And if you were to go and look at the other fan, the one that's for the living room, it'll have 3 wires because it has an on and off switch that you're gonna pull. So this fan here in particular is only gonna have 2 wires coming out plus the ground. The other fan that's actually going in the living room has 3 of these wires sticking out, and it's because it has a pull string which cuts on and off the power to the fan. So keep that in mind, since this one is remote control operated. All the electronics are actually going to be in this piece here, and I don't have no pull strings. If you don't want this to be seen, and say I want it over here, you want to rotate this in the direction you want it, and then when you have this ball up here, you're given some notches, and then you are given some corresponding notches right there. And basically when this goes in to this piece like this, it'll basically lock into place. So if you want that piece facing that way, what you got to do is make sure you rotate this ball, or rotate the fan, so you can turn it right here, okay, and then latch it into the next notch, so that way your on and off switch is facing a different direction. But those are the hooks or the notches that are going to correspond with those, like that. When you add the glass to this one here with the pull string, you want to align everything together. So there's a pull string on the side here. You don't want the pull string to come through this way over here. So you're going to want to twist this and align it, so that way this is directly in line with this, which is directly in line with the glass, so that way you don't get no binding of your pull string, because if it's over here, it's going to be hard to pull without it grabbing on this. So one thing you notice is there's a larger ring around there that's unpainted, and that's because the original shackle that it came with for the old fan was a lot bigger in diameter. So from here to this side is a lot bigger. The new one is smaller, so therefore you have to put the new shackle on, even though they look the same, to fit certain fans. So before you attempt to do any installation of a fixture of any sort, whether it be a fan or a light fixture, some of the tools you're going to need are, of course, wire nuts. The wire nuts that they provide are orange in color, but they're a lot smaller for a smaller gauge wire. The wire nut size is the size that the actual fan or the fixture comes with, but your house wire, especially on older homes, is a lot thicker. So you're going to at least want industrial sized orange wire nuts or yellow. I recommend buying both, just in case your wires there's multiple wires feeding into this fan, more than one. So I recommend the orange and the yellow, just in case you need to bundle more than 2 wires together. Wire strippers, and then voltage indicator. The white wires typically your neutral, and then the green wire should be your ground, and then your black wire will be your positive power coming in. If for whatever reason it looks overly complicated and you can't figure out which one's your power and which one's, your ground or your neutral, then it's best to stop and hire an electrician to do the rest. For the kitchen setup, it actually had multiple hot wires coming into this fan. And basically it's because all these were jumpered, even that light over there. And that's why I recommend having a few larger wire nuts for an occasion like that. For this fan in particular, it did not have 3 wires. The blue wire is the light wire for the light, and all that is integrated into the black wire because it has an on and off switch, since this has no pull strings. So keep that in mind. If you only have 2 wires, the black and the white, it's because you don't have any pull strings to turn on and off the light. The voltage indicator that you could use is of course a multimeter. I don't recommend it because it's a little bit more complex, especially if you're not used to dealing with electrical. And then you could get this one that is basically a light that you touch on a wire, and if it beeps, that means, or if it beeps and it's shining in red or solid in red, that means that you have power to that wire and you don't want to touch it. And the reason why I recommend that is because it's like a dummy style meter. So you just basically put it up there and you flip the breakers until that power dies. Because just because you flip your switch, like say this switch here, even though I flip this, older homes, sometimes there's still power going to your outlet here, because the way they wire it back in the day is a lot different than today's wiring. So that being said, I recommend one of those sticks that you could that senses voltage, and they're good for wall outlets as well, to tell you whether or not you have power. So you just hold it up there, flip the breakers until it tells you that there's no more power to that wire. So let's go through the fans that I purchased, some pros and cons to each, and whether or not I would change what I've picked up. So all these fans are by Harbor Breeze. Okay, this one's the Cooperstown one, and it has the gray. Looks kind of brown in here, but it's a gray wash fan blade, and then the top has the brown. This is the light output that you're given. So the light output is perfect for a living room. It's not too bright. It's more intimate, which is perfect, but not overly dark where you can't see. And this one here is a 62 inch. So let's go over the features. Basically, you have on and off. Okay, it's a little rough. It grips when you pull these little balls down. It grips on the corners of this piece. Not a horrible thing. It's annoying, but it does work. Sometimes it grips, sometimes it doesn't. Okay, then you got it's a 3-speed. So first one is going to be high. You're going to hear a hum, which I don't like. This is the only one that has like a horrible hum. It's not horrible, but it's noticeable, the most noticeable. So this being a 62 inch blade wingspan, on high, it doesn't move as fast as some of the other ones. It appears to move a lot quicker in video than actuality. But yeah, this one doesn't spin as fast as the other ones. It's probably like on a medium or compared to the other ones when this is on high. Okay, so you get a hum if you listen close. It's not too bad, but I mean, it sounds cheaper than the other ones. And then when you kick it on medium, the hum is kind of subtle. So the fan blades decrease significantly and you lose some of that humming noise as well. So on low, as you can see, it really doesn't do much. It moves a little air, but if I were to redo this, I would either upgrade the fan. If I get a 62 inch, make sure the speeds are a lot higher than what they do here, especially on high, or go with the 52 or 54 inch and let it spin a lot faster, blowing a lot more air. because even though you got large airflow, usually if you're hot, having constant fast air hitting you wicks away the heat way better than just a heavy breeze of air, if that makes sense. So volume versus speed. I'd rather have speed, getting a lot more air moving than, just a big gust of wind. So that's the living room fan, 62-inch. Now we're going to come into the kitchen where we're greeted with the 52-inch fan. And as you can see, it has no dangly bits for light or for fan. The reason why is because this fan matches the living room fan the closest, and they didn't have one with the pull strings. So you're greeted with the actual remote. So you have on and off. It takes a little time to turn it on, turn it off, but it makes a humming noise with the light. I don't know if you could hear that, but it makes a humming noise for whatever reason, and it kicks off as soon as you turn off the light. So it's the light. Okay. Then you're greeted with your fan buttons, speed 1. It's going to take a little bit of time, and then it kicks in. So that's speed 1. Now I'm going to click it to speed 2. As you can see, it picks up some more speed. Speed 2 actually feels pretty good in here, especially in this size of room. And then I'm going to kick it to speed 3, which is significantly going to blow a lot more air. And to be honest with you, I feel like this one puts out more air than the living room. Maybe just because it's in a smaller area, but you could hear it wind up. So it's a little bit louder. You don't hear a hum, but you could definitely hear the wind blowing. So if a wind, like the wind sound, is an issue for you, you might need to go with the larger blade where it turns a lot slower. But yeah, it puts out a lot of output. As you can see, see it on the table blowing the paper. But in about this area here is where you feel it the most. So the way the blades are shaped, okay, it's like a cone effect, not necessarily right underneath the light. But it's quiet, it's well balanced. So is the living room. The living room's well balanced, but this one really performs. Then to turn it off, all you do is you push this power button. That turns off the fan, and then this one turns off the light. You're given this hardware package, which basically allows you to mount this to the wall and then clip this, because that's the way it's, allows you to operate your fan. You don't have the traditional pull strings. So in here, this one has, instead of the globe, it has 4 short stubby light fixtures, which is really nice. I like this one a lot. The color's subtle, got the black with the nice brown. There's brown on top, I believe. It's like a grayish brown. I like the brown better. The grayish brown's like a washed out brown, but it does not necessarily match the kitchen and the living room. So you have on and off in the middle. Of course, I shortened up the little pull strings. And then you have 3-speed. So it makes a hum when it starts up, just because it has to get up to speed. Usually when the fans are like in low, they hum in order to get the motor to wind up. But once it winds up, this thing puts out a lot of air, and this is a 52-inch as well. So this is on par with the one in the kitchen. If not, I'd say this one's a little bit more powerful. But it has a little hum to it. Not too bad. It could be these fixtures, just because they're ceramic. They don't really tighten really well. But this one has to be my favorite, just because the color, the brown against the black, really contrasts as well. Puts out a lot of airflow. And then the medium slows it down. That's probably where you're gonna probably want to run it most of the time, just because, you know, that gives you enough air and moves a lot, especially if it's a smaller room. High if it's like super hot. But even at medium, it's not loud at all. It's subtle. And then your low speeds, I mean, even low is good enough to move plenty of air. So I hope this video helped you. I know I included a minute amount of detail in the wiring and electrical side of things, just because I know if you don't know what you're doing, I wouldn't recommend installing anything electrical, just because you could get injured. It's 110 volts and it's not something that you want to be messing around with if you don't know what you're doing. But like I said, if you have those 3 wires, positive, neutral, and ground, then, you know, you just hook them up directly and you'll be fine. Just make sure all the breakers are off for the systems that you're working on. And that's why you want one of those light indicators to pick up the electrical voltage to tell you if you have power at all. So that's going to complete today's video on the installation of the fans. I hope you liked this video and the feedback that I gave you on each model and what to look out for. If you did, give it a thumbs up. It's greatly appreciated. If you want to see content like this and other content like this renovation I'm doing in the near future, consider subscribing. Until next time, I'll see y'all in the next one. Thanks for watching.